All right, what's going on? We're here. I'm glad that you guys are here. This is Friday, and this is beginning of my summer. Even though my summer has school has been over for about a month, but my summer has officially kicked off. I'll wait a few minutes before for some more people come in to join the live. But for those who are here, for my veterans and for the alumni, we back in this thing. What's going on? For those who are new, um, welcome. We got a few things to discuss. I won't be long. I'm not the type of person that holds along forever. I mean, holds alive forever. I ain't got time. But I felt it was necessary to kind of reset some things and reestablish some things, and it's important that we learn together. So, um, for those who aren't, okay, what's going on? I see user 9214. What's going on? Don't forget to hit the like button and all the things. We're about to get started in a few seconds. I don't believe in hijacking people's time, but I do like having fun. And don't forget to hit that plus button. So, but yeah, I'm glad that you were here. We're about to start in a few seconds, but let me know. Put in the chat. Let me know where you're from, and I have an important question. The question is, uh, grits or oatmeal? If you had a choice, would it be grits or oatmeal? Before we get started discussing Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet, if you had a choice in breakfast, it, oatmeal or grits, let me know. All right. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the like button and greet everybody as you're coming in. But yeah, we're going to talk about the sacred ark, Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet. Um, it's like I said, it's been a while. I've been offline for a minute, but I'm glad to be back. But yeah, I hope all is well with you guys. And so um, here's the thing: a lot of people try to be masters of everything, right? They try to get into the process of in education or teaching or anything or content creating. They want to be great at everything. I don't have time to be great at everything. One thing I can do is teach African history, more specifically Nile Valley history. But what happens is we kind of neglect one over the others. So when it comes down to Nile Valley culture, when it comes down to Nile Valley information, we hyper focus on Kemet or Egypt and nothing else. Not realizing that we have Kush, we have Sudan to deal with, we also have Ethiopia to deal with. And so for the most part, I try to focus in that area. Okay. Um, Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I hope you can. I hope you can. But yeah, if you're here, you didn't come through by accident. Um, you're being called back to the root, back to the good stuff. So tonight is just a spark because next week we are going to go further into detail on my podcast, King Cam Ujumbe Podcast. Ujumbe means message, and we're gonna record twice. We're gonna have two episodes next week. One deal with the rise and fall, the knights, codes, and the Ethiopian stronghold, and then we deal with the three crowns. Okay, so we deal with that. So it's it's going to be a journey. So next week we will deal with the rise and fall, knights, codes, and then we deal with the three crowns on Thursday. And I'm gonna try to come back next Tuesday. We're gonna try to come back live next Tuesday also. But yeah, the world has taught us that Africa was broken into pieces, right? Broken into these different spaces. The Berlin Conference was successful in the fact that it what it did was it made all these small states, and these small states represented countries, but it's not like that. What happens is these countries are they have tribes, they have nations in them, and so. But the deeper truth, the reality is Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet weren't rivals. They weren't enemies. They weren't always at it. They were reflections. They were true reflections. And don't forget to share this live, by the way. We're going to get into some information. So let me tell you this. This summer, this is what the summer is going to be about, the Sacred Arc. This isn't just content. This is a learning journey. We're here to learn together. I'm learning from you guys, believe it or not. And and hopefully every week we'll be publishing something either on YouTube or here. And we're going to trace the original sacred design of Africa. So this is something you don't really hear in textbooks most of the time. And as an educator, when I'm discussing world history, whenever they discuss river valley civilizations in the arena in the space of world history, what they would do is they would connect the Yellow River, Indus River, and the Nile River. And psychologically, what happens is when you're connecting those rivers, the students would assume that these nations or these cultures start at the same time. That's not the case, right? So we're here to discuss some of the things that the textbooks don't. What's going on? Ice Ring, what's going on? And I see user 92214 still in the mix. Check this out. Tell me where you're from. Okay, hit the like button and tell me where you're from. And there's an important question that we got to address. We got to discuss. But yeah, hit the like button. Tell me where you're from. Okay. But yeah, so this we're going to discuss some things that the textbook don't, because I'm not just the type of individual that'll go off a soundbite. I actually teach what I have read and researched myself. There's a lot of people in these spaces or in these platforms. They do not do the research. They don't do the work. Okay, I see you, user 3942. What's going on? So they don't do the research, and that's a problem because we have other people coming behind us saying it is good and it's really not. So, but I do have later on. Just remind me. I do have some suggested readings. Okay, but yeah. So this is the entire for the summer. We're going to deal with Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet, a unified arc. Why? Because for too long we've been taught that Africa was a puzzle, it had separate tribes and scattered kingdoms. In a sense, yes, but they were unified to a certain extent also. Okay, but the truth is, our ancestors moved in rhythm, in time, spiritually, politically, and by ritual. Okay, Ethiopia, in my opinion, Ethiopia was the source. Okay, Sudan, ancient Sudan. Shout out to the fam in Nubia, the Aswan people. Sudan was the shield, and Kemet was the script. They actually put that information in stone. It went from mouth to ear. It went from word of mouth to the information in stone. So yeah, they did that. Okay, together they formed that divine arc of power from the the mountains of the moon. Okay, like Dr. Ben would say, from the mountains of the moon where God happy dwells, all the way up to the Mediterranean, right? And so now this is what we're doing. This is the reason why we're here. Yes, I enjoy African history. I enjoy um, the Yoruba, Hausa. I enjoy all those things. But I figure that on my platform, you hear about ancient Sudan. You'll hear about ancient Nubia a little bit more often. So um, on my podcast, King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, we have four pillars, right? And the first pillar is Ethiopia, the source and the sanctuary. We will begin where the Nile River begins, basically, where the highlands touch the sky and the ancient memory runs deep. See, Ethiopia is not just geography, it's not just a certain location. Okay, it is cosmology, it is a system, it is sacred and symbolic, right? So it's the land where the divine blueprint first touched the soil. From the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela to the ancient kingdom of Axum. We're going to get into that. There's some people that had their feelings about ancient Axum, but we got to tell it all, right? What happens is we would kind of gloss over a certain area of history to hyper focus on something else. No, we got to tell it, right? So, okay, Miss Berry Ave, what's going on? Shout out to the fam. What's going on, y'all? Hit the like button and let us know where you're from. Greet everybody as you come in. Okay, you're not late. You're in time. You're just in time. So Ethiopia holds the continuity of spirit that survived when the world changed. Okay, this is where the Nile takes its first breath. That and that river Nile is a cosmic umbilical cord. It connects the heaven to the earth. Ethiopia is known to the ancients as the land of the gods. In when Queen Hatshepsut, when she took her journey to Ta-Neter, okay, God's land, Ethiopia was considered Ta-Neter. Now, some people would say it could be Punt or Somalia, but for a time, Ethiopia and Somalia was one nation, right? So this was the land of beginnings. What's going on, Jam Span? What's going on? Okay, even the Greeks said the Egyptians pay homage to his antiquity. We have to remember that Kemetic culture is African culture. Kemetic culture came from the south. It did not come from anywhere else. It didn't come from the Mediterranean. It didn't come from Mesopotamia. It came from the south. Okay, so matter of fact, most of the kings, the Insubiti, the kings and queens of uh, of Kemet, their royalty, their bloodline, or their right to rule came from the south. All right. So when we say the source and the sanctuary, we're talking about a spiritual power, right? Untouched, uncolonized at its root. Uh, it has traditions preserved, sacred calendars still in action. Matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Ethiopian New Year is a different time of the year. I think it's in September. Okay, y'all let me know. Let me know. And so this is the reason why we're focusing on Ethiopia as a pillar because Ethiopia is a heartbeat. It's the encoded origin. If we forget Ethiopia, we forget everything else, right? And so what's going on? User 677, what's going on? All right, don't forget to hit the like button as you come in. But so we have Ethiopia, right? Now we also have Sudan or Kush. Okay, so we have Ethiopia, the divine origin, and we have Kush as the spiritual fire and defense. So Kush is the sacred south, right? We go into the golden kingdoms of Kush and Nubia. Too often, it's treated as, say, Egypt's stepsister, when the reality is Kush or Sudan is the mother of Egypt, right? These lands were actually its origin, its preserver, and the spiritual codes of Amun, the line thrones of the Kandiks or Kandeki, and the wisdom of Napta, Playa, and Meroe were all kept together. They kept the flame alive. So when Egypt was overtaken by foreign rule, Kush rose and crowned kings and queens of power, warrior priestess who protected the old ways, the temples at Jebel Pakar, solar altars in the desert, the Lion Temple of Naka, and many other places where they still kept their customs and their culture intact, right? And so they kept the old ways, temples at and like the pyramid. There was more pyramids. I learned that there was more pyramids in Sudan than there are in Kemet. Pretty interesting. Okay, so that's what it is. All right, so but we have some special guests coming in, so hit the like button, and I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are here. What's going? The Black Cabinet education. What's going on? Yeah. I had to come back from hibernation and get with it. You see what I'm saying? But shout out to the Black Cabinet of Education. He's awesome. The thing is about it. Uh, we're both in Texas, and we're kind of doing the same things. And we're gonna have to have you on one day and have you talk. But yeah, we're talking about the sacred ark. We're talking about Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet. And what happens is a lot of people would like to neglect the South. They like to neglect the South, and so on my podcast, we decided to lean into Ethiopia this summer, and so we'll deal with the Ethiopia as the sacred ark when it's connecting the other two. Okay, um, next week I will on YouTube. I have two recordings. One dealing with the rise and fall, dealing with the Knights. Because what happened is some folk don't know that the Knights Templar was out there being nosy in Ethiopia looking for something, and them boys kicked them out. You know what I'm saying? They went on gave them the boot. You understand me? So they were looking for something. They said they were looking for a cat named Prester John. Yeah, but no. So we're gonna get into that, and we're gonna deal with the three crowns of that connects the Nile Valley. And so, yeah, I really appreciate it. So don't forget to hit the like button. So on TikTok, a lot of my TikToks are the the reels are short, the videos are short and everything. However, the long form is on YouTube. If you want to get that, enjoy it. If you're interested, check it out. The link is in the description. But yeah, so Nubia is Kemet's mother, not the other way around. You see what I'm saying? And Ethiopia is the grandmother. What's going on, Yvonne, Hare Karen? I got a question. Let me know where you guys from. And here's the question: if you had breakfast, if there was breakfast going on, you have a choice: grits or oatmeal. Let me know. Let me know. Very important question. Very important question. You know what I'm saying? So we have Ethiopia, okay, the divine origin, and we have Kush, the spiritual fire, right? And so when Egypt was overtaken by foreign rule, Kush rose with their leaders, and they took over. Okay, so so this was a power center of black royalty, astronomy, metallurgy, and mystery. Here's the thing: the temples of Naftaplaya, they're older as well. And matter of fact, they line up to form the leg of a bull. Would that be connected to Heteru? And so that means if it's connected to Heteru, that Kemetic culture is a lot older. And we know that, say, I don't have a slideshow here, but the Scorpion King who united those many gnomes to make the first dynasty and everything, he already came with the culture. So the what is it? The Nataplaya, okay, and many other stones that were put together lined up for it lined up like a leg of a bull. So was Heteru part of an older system? See what I'm saying? So Kush and Nubia weren't just connected to Kemet; they were the southern spine, basically, the lion deity of Epidemic, and the sun culture, the sun cults, and the throne names were written in Meroitic script. Somebody on my YouTube platform asked me to break down some Meroic script. We just may get down, and we may do that. Okay, when the time comes. Yeah. Okay. The Black Cabinet of Education. He said oatmeal. I have to agree. Yeah. So what's going on? Change it up. What's going on? Shout out to the fam. I'm really glad that you guys are here. But yeah, because Kush is proof that Africa's spiritual science didn't vanish. It just moved. It morphed. Okay, and it endured. This corridor reminds us that continuity was never broken. Right, and we know what happened. We know the tragedy of the Aswan Dam. Okay, we know what happened in the Aswan region. Right, before they made the Aswan Dam, they found out that there was hundreds of years of information that was in the sands in that border area between Nubia or Sudan and Kemet. 100 pre-dynastic. So now when they got what they could, but or got what they wanted, and then what they did was um, Everything else was underwater. Not to mention, Abu Simbel was in Nubia. But I got a question dealing with Abu Simbel though. I got a question. Now we know Ramses the Great. We know he was awesome. Ursa Ma'at Rasa Tippin Ra Remesu Mary Amen. Um, was Abu? You guys are very intelligent. You know what I'm saying? The Black Cabinet. What's going on, Zephyr? What's going on? Um, was that a flex? Was Abu Simbel a flex? Was that an elaborate flex to say, hey, this is this is this is where I draw the line, and you Nubians don't cross this line? Was it a flex? I like to think so, but you know what I'm saying. But hey, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, is a matter of fact, his wife. I can't lose that. From what I've been told, Dr. Ben, he says that Ramses, his wife was from Nubia, or their family was from the south. Okay, greet everybody as you come in. What's going on? Santiago 69, real. Okay, Wilsley Michael T. What's going on? Yeah, the villain has returned. Yeah. So we got Ethiopia, divine origin, Kush, Kemet. The reason why I'm putting those things together, the reason why we're discussing these is because Kemet is the blueprint. Okay, it is the handwriting, right? It writes the sacred law, and it's the art, it's the actual capstone, right? So Kemet, ancient Egypt, is where the blueprint was drawn, right? Not just for temples or tombs, but for consciousness. This civilization left us more than monuments. It left us a manual for becoming the Neteru, okay? Becoming divine, okay? For those into that kind of thing. The pyramid text, the book of coming for by day. Um, I do not. It is upstairs, but the coffin text. We talked about the book of gates on YouTube. We talked about that. And look, did you know that the book of gates, it had 12 gates and it represented 12 hours in the evening? I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Okay, pretty cool. So that's something new. And the thing is, to the people of Kemet, temples were just buildings. They were microcosms of the universe. Whatever they saw in the sky, they wanted to be done on the earth. Okay, what's going on, Busy Bee? What's going on? Let us know where you're from. Okay, don't forget to hit the like button. And yes, hopefully, if nothing happens, I will have two recordings on YouTube. We will get into this. We will go into further discussion about that. If you're interested, the link is in the description. But why we're connecting Kemet with this? Because Kemet didn't just teach us how to live, but it taught us how to move into a higher level, right? If we want to rebuild a new world, if we want to make a better community, we got to study the blueprint. We got to study Kemet, right? So, the question, okay, the black cabinet asked me a question. He says, "Are are you live from a computer or phone?" I am from a computer. Okay, I tried. I can't say all these words on my phone. See what I'm saying? I can't do that. So I have the live setup, and I have a camera, the HD camera. It's pretty cool. It's connected, and so it is a certain way that it's TikTok Live Studio. Um, I'm still wrestling with it because I'm a teacher, so a lot of things I do. I like to have a PowerPoint, some kind of presentation. Right now, I just have my notes, so it's it's a little different. So, but yeah, I said the black cabinet education because I could flip my screen and watch on my phone now. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I went live for like a couple years ago. I was live on my phone, but once I figured out how to do it on a computer, I kind of like it a little bit better. I like that. So hopefully next week we'll do this again. Okay. The thing is, I don't go live just for the sake of going live. You see what I'm saying? Um, I gotta have something to say. Some people are out there on live washing dishes and whatnot. Bro, I don't need to watch you wash dishes. What the heck? You see what I'm saying? But I figured the live should be a teaching moment, right? And so next week we'll get into that. And so um, we on my podcast we will deal with Ethiopia. We will deal with Kemet and Kush. We'll deal with the Kushite, the pyramids. Matter of fact, here's the thing. Did you guys know that? Because I'm learning stuff. I'm learning new things all the time. But did you know that Kush wasn't a united group? There was people from Meroe. There was some Kushite people. There was Nubians. There was different groups of people. I didn't know that. You know what's going on? Kai PPO, what's going on? So yeah, I'm gonna have to break down the different tribes of the Sudan. I'm gonna have to get into that because the thing is, there's been talk. There have been discussions in like these kind of books here, like the Ancient Records of Egypt, Volume 2. Um, they they was cool with the Nubians, but them Kushites, I think they call it the dreaded Kushites or something like that. The name escapes me. But yeah, next week we'll deal with the first pillar. We'll deal with Ethiopia, the rise and fall, and we'll deal with the Knights Templar that showed up. Deal with some esoteric information. That's the foundation. Okay, that's the truth that they buried because they really don't want us to tap in and deal with that. We after a while, fam. After a while, I just got tired of arguing with people and discussing how what people of Kemet look like. I ain't got time. There's other things that we could be doing, right? So what I decided to do, what I decided to do is go south. Can't deny that. What's going on, Honey B? What's going on? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have a few books. I have a few book recommendations. I have a few. This whole time, I got that. I got this one. This is one. This is one. Okay, this is. If you serious about that, if you serious about that, go and get that. Okay, go and get that. It's in there. And so I have a few more. This, by the way, this is the African Origin of Civilization by Sheikh Enter Diep. Okay, by our great elder. Okay, really good. Okay, got a few more. But yeah, so we'll go back. We'll connect Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush together as one group. Okay, because we have to understand that over time, because of invasions, because of other things, they had to start drawing a line, right? And so they weren't rivals in a sense. They were one continuum. Now there was some invasions. There were some invasions because yeah, Jacob Carruthers. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk about the invasion. We'll talk about how temples were burned, languages banned, priesthood silenced, and why the memory was shattered. We're gonna get into that. Um, but even when there was exile, when a lot of people were kicked out or whatever, you'll still see how they preserved their knowledge. The reality is, when Greece and Rome invaded Kemet, either by force or finesse, the people of Nubia were saying, hey, you guys can come down here, but the Nzungu, y'all need to stay up there. Okay? But not only that, even if they couldn't, they start transmitting the information. Okay? They would start putting them in papers. They started writing about it. Or by custom, they would just initiate people into the process and hopefully it will be transferred. So what happened is a lot of people moved south and some went west. Believe it or not, Lake Chad was the bridge between the Nile Valley and West Africa. You're very welcome. So a lot of people would say, how did Kemetic science or Kushite information make it over there to Europe or to Cameroon or something like that? Lake Chad. Lake Chad was a lot bigger than this. And not to mention there was a thing called the Yellow Nile too that went westward. So the thing is, and you see it everywhere. Is it the exact same? No, it's not. Okay, the way my grandmother cooked in Arkansas is totally different the way we cook right now. You see what I'm saying? But there are some things that are the same. Okay. Now, here's the thing though. Um, we are bringing this together, and did you know that a lot of the pharaohs, either they came that the rites of passage or the information came from Kush or Ethiopia. A lot of them were either they married an Ethiopian or or they came from Ethiopia. Now what happens is, you know, I guess I chose violence, but here's the thing. What happens is a lot of individuals would uproot and find an artifact from the Greco-Roman period and say because this person was buried in Egypt, he was an Egyptian. Yes and no. Okay? Just like George Washington can be American, but he's not the Comanche. He's not the Apache, right? He's not the original people. So what they would do, they would pull some of these people and they'll have these images and they'll say they were Egyptian. True enough, yeah, but you're not running the information from royals, from the royalty, right? So, but their customs, their culture came from the South. Customs and culture came from the South. And so, um, have you ever felt that the information that you was given was stolen? Let me know. Okay? Like and comment below. Have you ever felt like some of this, even though it's coming out, and even though people like the Black Cabinet Education, many others are sharing this information, you still think that there are bits and pieces that are still kind of missing? And let me know. Okay? But what we're gonna do, um, we're gonna go. We have another live on TikTok next week. We will deal with the three crowns. We'll deal with the three crowns. Stolen legacy. Hold on. I have that was upstairs too, but The Lost Cities of Africa by Basil Davidson. It is dated, but it's pretty good. See, I'm about to break these books open. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But yeah, next we'll deal with three crowns. We talk about Ethiopia's crown, the solar crown, Kushite, the fire crown, and Kemet, the serpent crown. Right? We'll deal with that next Tuesday about the same time. So we're not just building content. We're building information. Okay, we're rebuilding a memory. Right? We're not just chasing. I'm not here to chase views or to chase um, likes and follow. I ain't got time, right? If you hit that follow button, if you hit that follow button, know what you're getting into. I am country is going, and you know it is what it is. But but I'm not here to go back and forth with individuals who don't read, write, or spell. You see what I'm saying? I don't have time for that. But if you are here, if you're in this space, you're welcome. You're welcome to learn. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah. All right. Shout out to the Black Cabinet Education. Yeah. Thanks for coming. But yeah, here's another book on Ethiopia. Really quick. The Layers of Time. Really good book. Really good book. Join my fan club. What's going on? Yeah. So and here's another one. Now, this is a classic. If you ever if you ever want to start on getting some knowledge on Kemet and Kush and Ethiopia, The Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire by Sister Houston, Drusilla Houston, this is a classic. I know the Black Cabinet Education, he mentioned Stolen Legacy. That's a good one. You got to get that. Now, here's another one. Here's another one. Before we go, here's another. The Ethiopians: A History. It's a good one. Okay? So my thing is if you're dealing with my content, you got to read. Okay? And I want you to learn for yourself and figure this out for yourself. For those who have children, Okay, I'm always going to highlight this book. I'm always going to do that. This is Tutankhamun and his friends. My parents gave this to me when I was 12 years old. Okay, it's by Cyril Aldred. Okay, has great pictures, great information in here. It's a good start. Okay, that's when my parents. That's how my parents started me out. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna deal with that. And for the longer versions of these, yeah, the link is in the description. But I really appreciate you guys coming, and we're gonna get into this conversation. Okay, um, we will deal with Ethiopia. We will deal with the deal with ancient Sudan, ancient Nubia. Let me see if I what other. Let me see. Let me see here. Uh, for Babylon to Timbuktu. Okay, this is a short read but a good read. Okay, this is by Rudolph Windsor. That it's a classic. Got to get that. But yes, those are some books that are out. I know I have some in my little card in my description there. Check them out. But yeah, if you're serious about it, check us out. Check out the Black Cabinet Education. Check out my podcast and all those things. Before we go, are there any questions or concerns? What's going on, Devils in the Details? What's going on? Yeah, yeah. Uh, Before I turn you loose, oh, this is a good one. Signed and sealed by Graham Hancock. This is good. This is good. Uh, if you're gonna be around us, you have to read something. We're not just here to say a lot of words and then you guys, just move on. This is a group study. This is a group effort. But before I turn you loose, so you guys can enjoy your weekend, are there any questions or concerns? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He said, "What up, bro? I didn't know you were live." Yeah, I decided to. I'm decided to go live on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Just for a brief moment. I'm not the type that do the marathon lives and everything. I ain't got time. Like, but if I'm gonna go live, I'm gonna try to do it once a week, just like I do on YouTube. But might as well, right? But yeah, for those who are interested in it, in learning about Ethiopia, Sudan, and Kemet, all right. So let me. Are there any other? Let me see. I do have a couple of other book recommendations. If there are any questions, feel free to comment those questions and everything. Just let me know. Um, just ask questions. I do post a lot of the videos I post here are short. Okay, they're reels. They're not the full thing. There was about a few weeks ago. Matter of fact, a few weeks ago, a sister got really upset when I mentioned um, how Queen Ty and Nefertiti was kind of into it. They were. We have to understand these people weren't Hotep all the time. These people weren't, stoic like that. You gotta realize this was a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law situation, right? Number one, which is by itself is a story to tell, right? But not only that, Queen Ty is the old system, the old guard. She represents the old ways, right? We had that. Nefertiti represents the new way. Not only that, Amenhotep the third, her husband is gone, right? And now Akhenaten, her son is gone. See what I'm saying? So there was a lot of things that was happening, a lot of behind the scenes, some priests that was involved. The priest of Amun, the high priest of Amun, they were gangster with it. They was something serious. Yeah, people. Yeah, you are correct. People tend to have a romanticized view of history and get upset when the heroes are not praised. They were people. These people were people. and we got to see them as such. They had real issues. Queen Ty was grieving, and then not only that, that dude, her son went to different church and everything, so she had to deal with legacy. You see what I'm saying? So that was another issue. That was another problem. So I'm sure she, one way or the other, tried to teach the grandchildren how this thing goes. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's, and not to mention when we discussed Sebek Neferu and her stepbrother. Man, the Middle Kingdom was a trip. We had a series last spring, the Queens of the South, and we highlighted Queen Sebek Neferu. We normally, whenever I have a podcast, whenever I have a discussion, it's anchored with a book. It's not just, even though my podcast most of the time has slideshow. That's the reason I'm struggling with this TikTok live, because I'm used to having a slideshow going, right? I'm gonna figure that out. I am going to figure out how to get a slideshow together so the fam can look at this. But yeah, that's what's happening. So whenever I do present on my podcast, there's a slide, and I like to do that. Okay, this I had a script, I had some notes, and we just talked, right? And up until I figure that out, we'll do that. But but yeah, we'll try to go live here at least once a week, like until. But it's gonna be hard when school start back. Yeah, for those who don't know, I am a teacher. I am a for real history teacher. I teach high school history. I am a department chair. I'm a mentor teacher. So the reason why, for those who don't know, also the reason why this podcast exists is, the reason why this whole platform that I have exists is, for a minute we were trying to revamp the curriculum, right? We was trying to reconstruct the curriculum and everything, and we thought we was doing good. But towards the end of the discussion, they just wanted the same old curriculum, but they want to make it COVID friendly. No. So what I decided to do is, all the ideas I had, all the concepts and things, all those things I had, is I decided to put it on here. Okay, and then later on I put it on Spotify and everywhere else. So King Cam Ujumbe Podcast has been in existence for 5 years. Yeah, five. Yeah, wow, 5 years. So um, it has been a journey, and so what we decided to do is lean into. We did the we did regional history. Okay, we did regional history. We looked at Basil Davidson's work. Okay, we looked at that. We covered major regions in Africa. But then over time, a lot of the people enjoyed our discussions on Ethiopia, Sudan, and Sudan. So that's when we decided to lean into Ethiopia and Kush, and also Kemet. We have other things that we discuss. We deal with some esoteric symbolism and Kemetic science, but for the most part, yeah, we'll be dealing with Ethiopia. And I also, for those who don't know, I also have a book. I do have a book. So, I do have a book. I am a published author, The Crusades and Jihad in East Africa. This is my very first book. Um, Check it out. We'll do a discussion on that also. But yeah, I really, my thing is, we all learn it together, and everybody has gifts and talents. Everybody knows. Everybody should be able to do something, right? And so instead of me focusing on all of Africa, I know the fam in Europe, or Nigeria, that people that they do Yoruba studies and things like that, Yoruba history. Some people doing, say, they focus on, say, African American history, which we'll touch on that also. I think we need everybody to do it. Okay, everybody on all fronts need to get down and do the work. Is what happens is, the loudest mouths are the ones that are the most, that they're not informed. What's going on, J Sep? What's going on? they're not informed. What the issue is, they would they don't go to school for it. They didn't study under somebody for it. They just looked on TikTok or YouTube and ran with it. That's not how it works. That's not how it goes. You gotta do the work. You gotta. I've written papers behind this. I had defended thesis and things like that behind it. So I'm not saying I'm right, but when teachers are coming, like say devil in the details, like the black cabinet education, uh, when when people are coming to give sound advice and sound information, we need to listen, right? Um, Before we go, are there any questions or concerns? I know that I was intending on cutting it loose about about a few minutes ago, but are there any questions or concerns before I go? Like I said, I'm not the type to have those marathon lives where people are on here for like 8 hours. I ain't doing that. Ain't no way, boy. What's going on, Pierre Valance? What's going on? But yeah, if there are no other questions, yes, we will be back. I will have two recordings on YouTube. Check the link in the description out. It's like I said, the shorts on here are really short and it's really brief. And most of my lectures and most of my presentations are over 30 some odd minutes. Okay, so it's impossible to 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 capture 30 plus minutes of information into 15 seconds, right? But what I do, I just put some of those shorts out there, and if somebody's interested, check out the link in the bio. What I will do on the lives here, I'm gonna try to do another one next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. I'm gonna try to do another one, and we'll kind of I'll give you a preview, a little bit more information as to what's coming up. Okay, but yeah, so that's Devil in Detail. Say I'll catch you on the next one. Yeah, yeah. I'm try to do the same, have the same time instead of just back and forth. I'm gonna try to do better with that. Um, but when school starts back, it's gonna be hard. I'm trying to figure out how to figure out how to do this. Um, we used to do Sunday afternoons, but I do a lot of recording on Saturday and Sunday. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Maybe on Friday night or something like that. But I'm not the type that'll go live every doggone day. I like sleep, right? Yeah, yeah. Turn on your notifications. Hit the like button. And if you are interested, hit the follow. I'm not. But before you hit that plus button, before you hit that button, know what you're getting into. you know. And I ain't. For a while, I spent a lot of time arguing back and forth with people. I ain't doing all that. I don't have time. What I would treat people the same way I treat my students. I will kick you out. I kick you out of class. I ain't got time to be. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. Because we're here to learn. We're here to have a good time, and we're here to spread knowledge and hope. And that's what it's about. It's not about who knows what. OC Song, the soul singer. You kind of missed it, but you didn't. We'll do it again, though. We'll do it again. We'll do it. I really appreciate you guys coming. I would. It's my fault. Okay, it's on me. Okay, it's on me. It's on me. Okay, it's on me. What had happened was I decided to do it this afternoon. We'll try to be a little bit more intentional. We'll try to be a little bit more intentional. But with our lives, we're gonna try to do it once a week. Okay. Shout out to Professor Lord for sharing the video. If you enjoying this, share it. But um, we're gonna try to do this once a week. But my longer videos, a lot my my lengthier discussions are in the link is in the bio. Okay, check it out. It's a lot. All right, but like I said, this is year 5. So, but yeah, I really appreciate those who come and learn and share. Like I said, we're all in this together, and that's what it's about. So what I'm thinking, up until maybe once school starts back, I'm thinking about next Tuesday. Do the same time next Tuesday. I will do better at announcing it because this was spontaneous. This was I'm gonna do something. So, my fault. And I'm normally good at that, but I got to get back into the rhythm of TikTok. I got to get back into it. And normally we used to do the and we used to do it once a week. But but before we go, I'd like to answer any questions you may have. Okay, are there any questions that you guys have? Okay, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher for real. So I like to help with that. We have some books. Once again, check this out. The Ethiopians. Yes, I read these. I read books. I don't just hold them. So the Ethiopians in history. This is the book that we'll be dealing with all summer. Okay, check it out. Because on my podcast we'll be dealing with Ethiopia this summer. This is a classic. Okay, the Lost Cities of Africa by Basil Davidson. This is really good. Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire. Check that out. And I have some of these books in my description too. Um, but we ain't done with them Templars though. Them Templars they was nosy. They was looking for Prester John, but they was also looking for something else in Ethiopia. I'm saying. So we're gonna deal with that. We're gonna deal with that. So, but yeah, the Sign and the Seal, really good. It's a little Indiana Jones. It kind of has that kind of, but it's not. There's some information here that they're not lying because I read it somewhere else, right? For the kiddos, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. But I do have other books as time go on because I'm downstairs. I'm downstairs. I have my other books upstairs. But whenever I host a podcast, we're anchored in a book. It's not just me talking, right? But we normally do a book study. It's very important that we do that. Um, and it's basically it's like Nile Valley History 101. This this kind of gets you ready for the Dr. Benz of the world. This gets you ready for um, Angela Davis. This will get you ready for Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark and Sheikh Enta Diop. This is just to kind of bridge the gap, but it is still intense. I'm telling you. And don't be afraid to, in the comments, don't be afraid to ask a question. Okay? We're all learning together. So I don't mind answering those questions. Okay? But yeah, this is what this class is designed for. This is what this podcast is designed for. Uh, yes, we discuss a lot of African history. I know some people asked about the connection between Congo and Kemet. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. So, but yeah, we're gonna try to do this. We're gonna do this next Tuesday if nothing is pressing. Like I said, I'm enjoying my summer, but I want to at least come on live at least once a week. So I will do my best. Devil's in the details. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna try to announce it a little sooner so we can all be here together. Don't forget to hit the like button and if you're interested, hit the follow and all the things. Um, is there any other questions? Are there any other questions or concerns? Okay. All right. If there are if there are if there are no other questions, we're going to call it. Okay. And I will. If there are no other questions, uh, I will. I will talk to you later. This is King Cam Ujumbe Podcast and Jube Meets Message. I will talk to you later. Have a good one.